In today's Tactical Tuesday episode, let's talk about OTKs. OTKs, known as one-turn kills, are decks that specialize in doing exactly what it says, deleting all of your security and hitting you for lethal in one turn. Several card games have OTK type decks, while others have FTKs. Luckily in Digimon, with the limited resources in the form of memory, this is something that is not possible. But the problem with OTKs comes with the fact that players feel the sense of a time clock, whether you're the one doing the OTK or being OTK'd. Back in Digimon's infancy, blockers became the only line of defense against such a style. But as the game evolved, Digimon gained more and more effects, whether it be deleting said blockers by card effects, or bouncing them before they could even declare the block. Piercing became one of the first effects that went around blockers. But even then, Armored Digimon became a counter to this effect, since the Digimon was not deleted. But now, with BT9 X-Record, the game has come to a point where the meta is controlled by predominantly OTK decks. Wargreymon X, Metal Garurumon X, Grandis Kuwagamon, and even Alphamon or Ryukin mode. You hated Jesmon from the BT6 era? Now there's a lot more different variants to contend with. As of right now, I am most familiar with Jesmon, Wargreymon X, and Metal Garurumon X. Each has their own way to set up their Digimon in the Rays. But the purpose of this video isn't to talk about how players will stay safely in the Rays before pushing their win condition out. No. This video is to define rogue decks that can counter the current meta. In the current meta, there are quite a few solutions to the predicament of OTKs and the Rays meta. And for this video, I'll be doing a comprehensive breakdown of the top 11 cards in my opinion that I feel will counter this. As always, if you enjoy these types of videos, do consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. Tactical Retreat is a very cheap option card that lets you place a Digimon from the battlefield on top of the security. While its main effect requires you to have a Digimon on the field, its security effect does automatically let you replace the security in it with another one. Unfortunately, it's not that great as an option card on its own because you require a Digimon on the battlefield. But in security, it's amazing. Number 10. Holy Flame. Holy Flame first appeared in the Heaven's Yellow starter deck and has not seen a reprint since. Moderately, I feel this card does work, but particularly in the security. If your opponent's Digimon sits in the Rays, well, that's an unfortunate situation. This card best counters Metal Garurumon X decks for the fact that red decks and Grandis Kuwagamon can go up to 3 or even 4 checks if the Digivolution stacks or boards are built just right. Number 9. Chaos Degradation. Chaos Degradation is an amazing piece of removal. Unfortunately, while its memory cost is expensive, it is also a dual-colored card that requires both colors to use. And even worse, if your opponent just sits in the Rays, it's not useful either. Number 8. Sunrise Buster. Sunrise Buster is another option card that works great against the OTK meta. You can place a red or yellow tamer when it's activated and then hit for -3000 DB for each tamer you have on one Digimon. Again, downside is this needs to be in security when they go for the OTK, and the stat line has to be low enough to do it. Prior to the restrictions, Red-Yellow Hybrid would have been amazing, but at this point, as of the writing of this script, Gen Con will be the proving grounds for this card. Number 7. Ultimate Flare and Iron Fisted Onslaught. Black has very good removal in the aspect whether you want to de-Digivolve or outright delete. In most cases, I lead more towards Iron Fisted Onslaught, but Wargreymon X can easily counter this with its inheritable effects. De-Digivolve is typically more powerful. Number 6. Kongu. Kongu is higher up on this list for the fact that this card is more effective against hybrids. And while those decks can also potentially OTK, surprisingly some decks will run hybrids as a finisher. It's not the best option, but on the bright side it does stop security from being added. Against security control, this can also be very powerful. Number 5. Disaster Blaster. Disaster Blaster surprisingly is this high up on the list for me for the fact that you have a lot of potential deeper reductions that can make it so that Digimon don't survive checks. As another plus, it's single color, meaning you don't have to worry about having multiple colors. The even better part is that with the memory fixer, you still keep it on your turn. Number 4. Wyvern's Breath. Wyvern's Breath is the best form of removal in this format. Being monocolored and a DP reduction of 15,000 DP, this option card eliminates most, if not all Digimon, and renders protection effects useless. There are only a few cards that counter this, one being Breath of the Gods, A Delicate Plan, and for red decks the innate effects of Wargreymon from BT1. Even Omnimon without any DP buffs loses to this option card immediately for the fact that when you trash the level 6 Digimon to prevent its deletion by effect, it's still at 0 DP, meaning it gets deleted. Only downside is the expensive memory cost. But in yellow decks, you have many ways to recover and cycle through your decks for recovery. Number 3. Breath of the Gods. This card gives your Digimon reboot and prevents it from being DP reduced or bounced to the hand or deck. But in security, your opponent's Digimon can't attack players for the turn. This is another powerful option card like Kongu, but prevents any Digimon from attacking. This includes level 6s even if your opponent attempts to circumvent the limitations of play cost of 7 or less from Kongu. But overall, this card's main problem is that it has to be in the security to trigger the effect. Number 2. Chikurimon. Chikurimon is the only card in existence in the Digimon trading card game right now that can target any Digimon and not be negated by anything. With option cards that de-digivolve, BT1 Wargreymon can prevent this with its innate effect, and a Delicate Plan as well. But Chikurimon can de-digivolve anything by one stage, which removes the threats of potential shenanigans that level 6s or even 7s can do to this format. Unfortunately, it suffers from the problem of most option cards in that it needs to be in the security. Otherwise, it's a vanilla Digimon for Digivolve fodder. Honorable mentions, and in no particular order, Dark Gaia Force, Atomic Megaloblaster, and Atomic Blaster. Red provides a wide variety of option cards that are useful in this format. When playing against green and blue in particular, red option cards are very effective against these decks, and can prevent the OTK unless ADP is active. But as for the final card for this discussion, number 1. Sakuyamon. Sakuyamon takes the number 1 slot for its utility as a Digimon and security attack blocker. Sakuyamon made waves in the BT6 format with the fact that this prevented Gabubond and Ancient Garurumon decks from effectively OTKing if they pushed from Rays. But in the current format, there are quite a variety of ways to bounce or even delete this Digimon via Gallantmon X, Wargreymon X, Metal Garurumon X, and even other powerful cards that could de-digivolve her and remove her passive ability. But overall, what are your thoughts on the 11 cards discussed in this video for countering the OTK meta? Do you find black and yellow decks competitive in this format, or with limits, restrictions, and lack of support that they don't really work? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.